to Exponentials 2.2, rewriting exponentials and logarithms. Okay, so today we're going to just go straight to 2.2. Sorry we skipped 2.1, but the concept that you learn in 2.1 is important, and it helps you to understand what we're able to do and why we're able to do today's lesson as far as mathematically is concerned. But yeah, you're not going to really see the steps that we do in 2.1 as we move forward. So therefore, I figured you don't kind of need it, yeah. And since we're kind of tight on time, then I figured I'd just make you guys concentrate on the lessons that are a little bit more important. Okay. So in today's lessons, I'm gonna show you guys, or today's lesson rather, I'm gonna show you guys how to basically switch from one form to the other. And this isn't something new, yeah. So please don't think that, oh wow, we're doing something brand new as far as a concept is concerned. No, you switched forms before. It's just that you haven't switched between these two particular forms before. Okay, so a good example of that is when back in like the first and second quarter we learned about quadratics. Okay, and when we learned about quadratics, we learned that there's something called standard form, and there's also something called factored form. Okay, so when standard form for quadratics, we have x squared plus 7x plus 10. So that's an example of standard form for quadratics. And if we write the exact same problem in factored form, it looks like x plus 5, x plus 2. Okay? So they pretty much are the same thing. They just look different, right? So this is standard form, right? And it has its advantages, and that's why we have it around. And this is factored form. It also has its advantages. So we keep them around because, like I said, sometimes we need one form over the other, and one form is more useful, whereas the other form is not as easy to work with for some problems. Okay, and just like today's lesson, okay, this is what you would call log form. Okay, yeah, it's really called logarithm form, but I just shortened it to say log form. Okay, and this one is called exponent form. So I just abbreviate exponent exp. All right, so I'm going to teach you guys how to switch back and forth between the forms. And it's pretty easy because if you notice, they all have the same letters, right? This guy has a y, that guy has a y. This guy has a b, that guy has a b. And this guy has an x, that guy has an x. Okay, and yeah, because they all have the same letters, then when I switch from one form to the other, we just got to make sure whatever number is in this spot right here for the y goes right there where the y is for him. Whatever number I have in place of the b, I put that exact same number for b right there. Okay, and eventually I'm going to have a number where x is. And if I have a number where x is, then I put the exact same number there. So if you can just keep that in mind, then you should be good to go. Okay, and these letters also have names. So the book gives names to the y, the b, and the x. Yeah, and I give them names also. Yeah, so two of the names that the book gives, the y, the b, and the x, I use the same words. But one of the letters, I made up my own. Yeah, and that's what I always do, right? I always make a little change to things that I teach and names that I give it, and kind of adds uniqueness to my lessons. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't get confusing because you're going to see a different word from the word that I'm actually saying. Okay, but here it goes. Okay, so when you switch forms, I like to rewrite this form not with letters but with words. Okay, so since the y, yeah, is gonna be taking on the role of exponent, I just call the y exponent, exp. Okay, and I'm gonna do some changing color so that when I start to switch forms, and you're gonna see where these things go, yeah. And then let's see, maybe I can use b, which stands for base. Okay, and then parentheses, and then the x I call answer. Okay, the book calls it argument. Yeah, I call it answer. All right, so this is the word form of log form. Okay, and when I write exponent form, I'm going to use the words as well. So let's see, I used red for the letter B, so base. And then the y, I use blue, so that's exponent. Oops, exponent, exp. And then equals. And then x, answer, purple. Okay, so I just kind of made like a color coordination of where things go. So if you like the letters and you can switch back and forth where the letters are in these spots, then you can use that. If you like the word form of log form and exponent form, you can use this. Yeah, because sometimes when students see colors, they're more likely to remember it in that way. Yeah, because sometimes your mind, your brain, your eyes focus on colors versus similar letters. Okay, so either way is fine with me. You can use the word form. You guys can use the formula that they have in the first slide. It doesn't really matter to me. Whatever works for you guys. Okay. All right. So let's go straight to one of our problems. Okay. So the best way to get to know the forms and what the names of all these numbers are. Yeah. And when I say names of the numbers, I don't mean 4 and 3 and 64. That's not the names I'm talking about. Okay. So when I refer to names, I'm talking about what is the location that the 4 is in called? What is the location that the 3 is in called? What is the location that 64 in called? Okay, so this 4 is called base, this 3 is called exponent, and this 64 is called answer. Okay, and if you can remember the formula for what we're trying to turn it into, right? Because this is called exponential form. So if you can remember what log form looks like, then that's going to be huge. Okay, so log form looks like this. Okay, so it's going to be exponent equals log base. Oops, let's do a little b, not a big B. I don't know why I put a big B. I guess you can put a big B if you want. Log base and then answer. Okay, so what do we call exponent again? 3. Yeah, so when I go from exponent form to log form, yeah, what number is sitting in the spot that is called exponent? A 3 is, so I put a 3. Then I put equals. Then I write the word log, and then I see the word base next. So this is the one where I got to write the number tiny. Yeah. So what number is sitting in the spot called base? Well, let's look at the original problem. And who's sitting in the spot called base? 4 is. So I put a 4 right there. Okay. Then I put parentheses. And then the number inside the parentheses is called answer. So who's called answer in this exponent form here? Is 4 called answer? No, 4 called base. Is 3 called answer? No, 3 is called exponent. 64 is what I call the answer. So in the parentheses, I put 64. And you're done. Okay, that's all we're going to do for this problem, and the other 3 that are going to follow up right now. We're just going to learn how to switch forms. Okay, and I suggest you guys label these pieces, because if you label them, then you're going to get to know them a lot better. Okay, so let's keep it consistent. So this guy, this 9, he's called base. This, what is this, 3 over 2? That's called exponent. And this 27 I call answer. Okay, so we're gonna put exponent, right? Because that's the very first thing. Because this is exponent form, we're gonna change to log form. Okay, so first thing in log form says write the exponent. So who's sitting in the exponent spot? Is 9 sitting in the exponent spot? No, 9 sitting in the base spot. Is 27 sitting in the exponent spot? No, 27 is sitting in the answer spot. So who's sitting in the exponent spot? Well, 3 over 2 is. So we're going to start off with writing 3 over 2. Then equals. Then the word log. Then base. So who's sitting in that spot called base for exponent form for this guy? So who's sitting in a spot called base? 9 is. I write a tiny 9 right here. Then I put parentheses. And then what's in the parentheses? Answer. So who's sitting in the spot called answer? 27 is. So I put a 27 there. Okay, so this is when I go from exponent form to log form. B and D now, on the other hand, it's going to go the opposite direction. They're going to go from log form, right? Because you see the word log, right? Into exponent form. So let's write out the exponent form on the side here. So exponent form is base exponent equals answer. Okay, so let's label these guys. Let me change the color. So this 2 is called, anybody know? Base. Okay, this 32 is called answer. Okay, and this 5 is called exponent. Okay, so this is where it's going to get weird for some people. Yeah, when I labeled the exponent form, yeah, since you guys have seen exponent form before, Yeah, you guys know what 9 is called. It's called base. You guys know what this little tiny number over here is called. It's called exponent, right? And the answer to 9 to the 3 over 2 power is 27. So this is a little bit easier to label and to get a grasp on because this form is familiar to you. Okay, this form right here, this is probably the first time you're ever seeing it. So this is going to be weird when you start labeling this. Yeah. So that's why I really recommend before you do these problems, you label what these numbers are called. So 2 is base, 32 is answer, 5 is exponent. Because if you don't do that, when you switch forms, and we got to do even more insane stuff with this form, then it's going to get way harder. Yeah, so make sure you get this foundation stuff solid because it's only going to help you out as the logarithm topic gets more and more difficult. All right, so let's switch forms. So we want to turn it into exponent form. So exponent form says first thing first, let's write the number that is occupying the spot called base. So what number is occupying the spot called base in my original problem? Is 32 called base? No, that's called answer. Is 5 called base? No, 5 is called exponent. So who's called base? 2. So I write a 2. Okay. Then it says, right after your base, put the number that is in the spot called exponent. So who's occupying the spot called exponent? 5 is. So put a 5 right there. Then equals, then answer. So what number is occupying the spot called answer? Well, 32 is. And here's the reason why I actually call that spot answer. Because guess what 2 to the 5th power is known as? 32. Yeah, 2 to the 5th power is known as 32. So 32 is the answer to the problem of 2 to the 5th power. And that's why I call it answer. Yeah. So, yeah, I know the book calls it argument, and that's fine. There's probably some technical reason that's really good that says why he's named that. But yeah, I just like this because it makes more sense. Yeah, I don't want to call it an argument because then it thinks like we're fighting. Yeah, we're not fighting. Okay. So I'm just going to call it answer. Yeah. All right, so let's do D. Okay, so let's label these numbers. So 3, hopefully you guys know, it's called base. 1 over 81, that's called answer. And negative 4 is called exponent. Okay, so let's do this. So exponent form says write the number that's sitting in the spot called base. So what number is currently sitting in the spot called base? 3 is, I put a 3. Okay, then it says write exponent right next to the base, a little bit raised, a little bit higher, a little bit tinier. So who's in the spot called exponent for my original problem? 1 over 81? No. Negative 4 is. So write negative 4, a little bit higher, a little bit tinier. Okay, and that's my exponent. Then equals answer. So who's occupying the spot called answer? Well, 1 over 81 is. And we're done with this slide. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so this one is the same exact thing. Okay, it's the exact same thing. Yeah, and don't mind this blank right here. Yeah, there's 2 blanks. I know there's 2 blanks, but don't mind those. Okay, all that is if we're gonna do this part. Yeah, so the second blank right here is if we're gonna do this part. Well, we're not gonna do that today, so don't worry about this second blank. Yeah, so I'm only gonna write stuff in this first blank. All right. So all we're doing today is learning how to switch between one form to the other. So let me ask you a question. What form is this called? Right here. What is this form called? Yeah, is this called log form? No, you know why it's not called log form? Because guess what word you don't see in this form right now? You don't see the word log, right? Actually, we don't see log for any of the forms. So every single one of these problems start off in exponential form. Yeah, so we're going to turn them into log form. Okay, so let's do what I recommended. Yeah, and let's label these pieces. So what spot or location is this number 2 sitting in? And you got 1 of 3 choices. It's either going to be exponent, answer, or base. What is the name of this spot that 2 is sitting in? So hopefully you say base. What is the spot that, what is this, a y? Yeah, it's a y. Okay, what is this spot that y is sitting in? And hopefully you say exponent. And what is the spot that 5 is sitting in? Hopefully you say answer. Okay? Actually, I won't abbreviate answer. Just put A-N-S-W-E-R. Okay? All right, so let's label all of them. So 7 is your base. Y is your exponent. And 12.4 is your answer. 3 is your base. Y is your exponent. And 21 is your answer. Okay, 10 is your base. Y is your exponent. Okay, that doesn't look like base at all. I don't even know what word that spells. Looks like lake. So, yeah, let's write a little nicer each column. Okay, let's get with the system. All right, there you go. That's a little better. Still ugly, but better than the other word I had there. I mean, lake, or look like lake. Alrighty. Okay, so we got everything labeled. Yeah, and just in case you forgot, yeah, what form are we trying to write this thing in again? So just ask yourself, well, what form are we in now? Well, we're in exponent form, so we're trying to write it in log form. And if this helps, maybe you might want to actually write what log form looks like on the top here. So exponent equals log base of answer. Okay, if that helps. I mean, some people, they have it in their brain already, but if you don't have it in your brain, which is normal, don't worry. Yeah, then yeah, just write it on the top right before you do some stuff. Okay, so let's do this. So when I want to switch forms, it says write the number that's sitting in the spot called exponent. So who's currently sitting in the spot called exponent? Y is. So actually, you know what? I am going to use both lines. Yeah, so I'm going to put a y right here, and then the equal sign. So there's my equal sign. Then log, and then it says for this next one, write the number that's sitting in a spot called base. So who's sitting in a spot called base? 2 is. So write a tiny 2 like that. Okay. And then put parentheses, and then it says write the number that's sitting in a spot called answer. So who's occupying the spot called answer? 5 is. Okay. So there you go. A is done. All right. So let's do B. So B says same thing. First you write the number, or in this case it's a letter actually. Write the letter, yeah, that's occupying the spot called exponent. And Y is occupying that spot, so I put Y. Then equals, then log, then base, who's sitting in a spot called base. And hopefully you guys all say 3 is. 3 is, yes, very good. And then who's sitting in the spot called answer? 21. There you go. Pretty easy. Yeah. Okay, let's do the last two. All right, so who's sitting in a spot called exponent? Y is, then equals, then log. Who's sitting in a spot called base? 7. And who's sitting in a spot called answer? 12.4. Okay, so good to go so far? Yeah, I think so, yeah. So who's sitting in the spot called exponent? Y, then log. Okay, I'm gonna write this one wrong on purpose because this is what a lot of kids do when they start getting lazy or they're not really paying attention to what I'm writing. And when they try to do it themselves, they kind of forget what I did or how I made it appear or how it looks visually, and they start writing it wrong. So here's what people do when they start writing this thing wrong. So next I'm going to write base. So here's what they do. They go 10. And then they write answer, parentheses 31.5. So what's wrong with this? Well, I kind of made the number a little bit bigger than usual, so I kind of supersized it where it's kind of obvious, right? You guys can see it, right? Was I supposed to make the 10 that big? No, I'm not supposed to make the 10 that big. Yeah, the 10 is supposed to be kind of tinier and a little bit lower than the G, so like right about there. You see that? Yeah, you're going to say, well, you didn't do 3 that way. Yeah, I kind of didn't do 3 smaller, but I did put it lower though. Yeah, so there you go. So that's today's lesson. And if you didn't know what your homework is because you didn't look at the assignment on Classroom, well, it's just basically this page, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and this page, 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D. Okay, all right, good luck on your assignment, and I'll see you guys at question and answer. Bye-bye.